One of my all-time favorite lunations is upon us, and that is none other than the full moon in Taurus. Taurus energy allows us to slow down, drop into our bodies, be present with every little sweet thing that is going around us. And it's sensual, it's luxurious, and it allows us to take our time. So no matter what it is that is making your head spin, Taurus energy allows us to slow down and drop into the present moment and find something that we can savor, find something that we can be grateful for and really appreciate in this one special and precious moment that is gone. It is now gone. So let's pull up that full moon chart and let's get into it. I'm Catherine Urban. I'm an astrologer with over 16 years of astrological immersion, practice, and study. And I want to thank you all for joining me for this forecast again. And I want to start by sharing a little something with you. So every morning I start my day with a cup of coffee and I check the news. I'm scrolling on my phone. I'm seeing what in the heck is going on in this crazy world today. And sometimes I get so distracted and so overwhelmed and so energetically invested in what's going on out there that I sometimes forget that there is a whole world right in my living room. And that is the world of my children. That is the world of my family. That is the world where I am physically rooted. And I want to take that example to remind you all that this Taurus full moon energy is inviting us to be present. It is inviting us to be present with what is right here. Where are your feet? Where are your hands? Are you looking at people in the eyes? And I wanted to also share about nervous system regulation. And this is something I practice a lot with my 2-year-old, is finding my own breath. And I notice that sometimes I'm around people and I'm feeling anxious, but what I'm really tapping into is not my own anxiousness, but it's other people's. And so I wanted to invite us all to try to become more conscientious of finding our own calm, because when we're calm, we can be more present and we can be more responsive. You know, being calm, regulating our nervous system takes us out of that fight or flight. And we're just, sometimes you do. Sometimes you got to throw down. Sometimes you got to fight. Sometimes you got to react. That's what that's there for. But we don't want to be in that all the time. So this is a really great lunation to tap into that toolbox of how to find your center, how to remember that your feet are on the ground. That's something I do to ground myself all the time. Even sometimes right here at my desk, I take my socks off and I feel my feet on the rug. And that's something that we can do. That doesn't cost anything. Like if you want to go to a yoga class and that's where you find your calm, awesome. I know I used to do that a lot. I don't always have the time to do that now. So sometimes you have to get creative. And one of my favorite things to do is just to take deep breaths. And by taking deep breaths in the presence of my children, they know that it's okay for them to take a deep breath. It's something that's available. It's nourishing. It sustains us. It gives us resources. It gives back to us. And so it may sound really simple and it may sound really basic and like, yeah, Catherine, we know how to take breaths, but it's one of those things that you may find immense reciprocal value by doing so under this Taurus lunation. So with that, let's go ahead and get into this chart. So this chart is going down on November 5th, 2025. Happy birthday to my book, Your Astrological Cookbook. It was born on November 5th, 2019. So yeah, shout out to Your Astrological Cookbook. Oh my gosh, 6 years old. And this full moon is going down at 13 degrees Taurus in 22 minutes. So of course, we want to find our feet, we want to ground ourselves, but Taurus energy can also be intentionally sweet. So I always find myself a little extra hungry around the full moon in Taurus, and I find myself going to greater effort to satisfy a craving. So if that's you, definitely hit up your local spot, hit up your favorite restaurants, your favorite bakeries, support local, or maybe even whip up a feast and share the love. I mean, this is full moon culmination. We're doing it in a big way. And so we may also have some Taurian insights around how we feel satisfied, what is desirable to us, what is pleasurable to us. And I would also invite you to look at your Taurus sector in your chart and see what is coming into full illumination and full awareness. Definitely look at your Taurus house in your natal chart to see what's coming to light for you or what's coming into full expression for you here. This full moon, we're not seeing any aspects to this full moon. But then we want to absolutely check out Venus. This lunation is ruled by Venus in Libra. Venus is in her domicile in Libra. And so here we get diplomacy. We get ethics. Venus is holding court for, the tallest order of ethical standards and moral standards. And there is a desire here for equanimity. There's a desire to see equality. There's a desire to see fairness in the world. So these types of like moral preoccupations, or just thinking about right or wrong, how to run a society, basically, how to make sure that people are treated fairly, people have access to things that they need. These may be things that we're discussing on a collective level, or maybe some things that you're thinking about personally. Something that immediately comes to mind as we think about Taurus and hunger, and whether that is like a big hunger, a big desire for something mighty that you want to experience or taste in the world, or whether it's just basic access to food. I mean, this is something that is top of my mind as I go into this forecast. I'm recording on November 2nd and thinking about all the people who are now facing food insecurity in the United States because our government is shut down and they're not refilling that government assistance SNAP benefit support. So I think about all the people that are hungry right now, and I think about Venus in Libra, thinking about systems of fairness, systems of equanimity, meaning like we're going beyond this idea of equality, and equanimity means that like if I had a head start and you didn't, I'm going to give you an extra boost so that you have just as much of a chance as I do. And so I'm thinking about that and how Venus is coming off of the square with Jupiter in nourishing Cancer. Jupiter wanting to protect people, wanting to feed people, clothe people in Cancer. And I just think about how just a couple of days ago, Billie Eilish donated a large sum of her fortune to charity to help feed people. And she called out some billionaires and said, hey, I want you to follow my lead. So I think about this square as a correspondence to that sort of act. And I'm seeing it even on a local level, people donating, people inviting us, like instructing each other, like how to best support local food banks and things like that. So this is definitely here of how do we create like a better system that helps feed and care and provide basic care. So that might be something that we're thinking about, is like, is food a human right? And I would say absolutely it is. When you think about how we've paved over land to create parking lots and strip malls, when it used to be that food just grew freely, and then it was like, no, we can make money off of that. Like there's a reason that there's not fruit trees growing in your town, and it's not just that they're messy. It's about questioning why things are set up the way that they are. So that's top of my mind when I'm thinking about that. But stepping out of that scarcity, this is typically an aspect of indulgence. Venus and Jupiter, sometimes I find that I've bought too much food in the fridge. And if that's you, maybe we're thinking of sharing that with people who could use the extra help. But this is typically an indulgent aspect. This is typically like you're going out one too many times this week, or you're going to too many parties, or you're like, gosh, I've had just like way more opportunities to eat sweets or to drink or whatever it may be. So sometimes there's this theme of excess with Venus, Jupiter. But it's also just this sense of feeling abundant, feeling like you have an abundance around you. And sometimes it is in that form of nourishment, but sometimes it's also in the form of friendship. Venus is a very social planet, and Jupiter is also a planet of friendship. So thinking about who's in your corner, who's in your circle, who's in your community, and leaning into that community. So I think that this is an aspect where we can feel just like really grateful for the people that are around us and who's in our little human family. On November 6th, Venus is going to move into Scorpio. So she moves beyond the balanced, fair, seeing things from other people's perspectives and putting them first in Libra, and moving into Scorpio, where she feels a lot more intense, passionate, and focused. Less is more for Venus and Scorpio. Venus and Scorpio, we've got that like focus of the Scorpion, setting its sights on the things that it wants, it cares for, it yearns for, it's passionate about. And Venus is all about our values. Venus is about what we think is the most important, our ethics and things like that. So Venus feels very strongly in Scorpio. And this is, of course, on a relational level where we turn to cultivating our more like close, tight-knit, and our intimate relationships. Venus in the air signs where she's coming from is a little bit more free and wants to kind of like chat with everyone, make time for everyone. And she's a bit more of a social butterfly. But in Scorpio, it's about like less is more and giving more of your energy to like a handful of people. So this is ride or die energy with Venus and Scorpio. And so this is the time to sort of drop in with the besties and to snuggle up with your mate. This is the time to cultivate that closeness and that trust. Trust is really important for Venus and Scorpio, as well as loyalty. And we're going as deep as it gets. Scorpio loves to go deep. We want to have those soul level conversations and even just sharing space with one another in a way where we don't feel like we have to fill the air with noise. We don't have to constantly be in dialogue. We can just be. That's also comfortable for Venus and Scorpio. But we're going to the depths, the deepest of the depths with this square to Pluto. So this is where I always like to say that we have to reveal ourselves under this aspect, and we have to be able to hold space when other people show us who they are. And we are all just human. We have our more palatable sides, and we have our more complex and deep sides. And this is where we allow ourselves to be seen in that complexity. And we can hold space for other people in their complexity as well under this aspect. So just note those opportunities when someone's taking the conversation to a new place that they want to share this side of themselves with you. So get ready, because this is an aspect where you can cultivate a deeper sense of trust and intimacy and understanding of knowing people in a three-dimensional way, not just the surface level kind of way. And this is also where, we may be having harder conversations. We may be mirrors to one another. We may provide significant breakthroughs for people when we can't always see ourselves. Sometimes we need another person to offer perspective and insight into our patterns, and insight into our attachments, our behaviors. And so this may be one where someone who you have a lot of trust with reflect something back to you that you weren't necessarily ready to hear. And maybe you're into that thing, maybe not, but just be ready. Just be ready to see it and receive that. So Venus is going to be in Scorpio for some time. So we'll be working with her, and we will be continuing to chat about Venus and Scorpio as things progress. But now I want to move to what's happening on, well, this is also happening on the 7th, is that on November 7th, Uranus is going to retrograde back into Taurus. And we're going to be working with Uranus and Taurus. This is the last time. So I already told you about this with Neptune. Like, this is the last time Neptune is in Pisces. We talked about that in our last forecast. Now we are at Uranus. This is the last time we're going to see Uranus in Taurus. Let me just click that forward. And Uranus is going to be in Taurus until April 25th. So it's going to retrograde all the way back to 27 degrees of Taurus in 27 minutes, and it's going to get there in early February. So we have just this last little stretch of Uranus and Taurus, and we are never going to see it again in our lifetime unless we're looking at natal charts or event charts. But we're done. We're moving into Uranus and Gemini. And I think that Uranus and Gemini is very chaotic. It's inherently divisive. It's the chaos of different perspectives. It's like being in a fun house where there's all these different mirrors, or like being stuck in a maze. It's a little scary, Uranus and Gemini. So I think we can enjoy and look forward to these next 5 months of feeling like that Uranian energy is a little bit more contained. It's a little bit more grounded. Uranus and Taurus brought us some crazy beauty rituals like microneedling and microblading. And it also brought a lot of innovations in food, marijuana. It brought a lot of innovations in meat. That was something that we were looking at as like fake meat, but it also brought back, like, it kind of liberated carnivores for a little bit, because it was like, I think it brought back the trend of free range and like free of hormones and things like that. So we also saw, there was something else funny that I saw while Uranus was in Taurus, and that was like helping cows to have a little bit more autonomy. So when they were full of milk, they could walk themselves over to be milked like robots. And yeah, so I don't know. It's been interesting to reflect on the innovations and changes that we've seen with Uranus and Taurus. Another big one was cryptocurrency. That was probably the most striking one, was that finances. I mean, now you can have like a crypto wallet, and it's less regulated. They're trying to regulate it some more. When Saturn encountered Uranus in that square, from Aquarius, they tried to regulate it some more, but it's still very uncontained. Uranus is very uncontained. It's about the pursuit of the unknown. It's about possibilities, innovation, technology. So we're seeing that. We're seeing that from a financial perspective as well as a beauty perspective. Another thing that came back in a big way with Uranus and Taurus was nails. Everyone's getting their nails done with Uranus and Taurus, and seeing innovations in that respect. So we're happy to see Uranus move into Taurus, and this is really good timing. I don't think the timing could be better, because check this out over here. So this has been, if you've been watching me click forward with the different days, we've seen Mercury and Mars hanging out on the ascendant of that new moon chart that I cast for Washington, D.C. And this is going to be playing a strong role for us over the next 2 weeks. This is very erratic, fighting words. This is a jolted nervous system, which is why I'm glad we talked about grounding at the beginning of this forecast. So this is why I'm happy that Uranus decided to retrograde back into Taurus at this time, because otherwise that is just exasperating this already volatile, daggers on the tongue combination of Mercury and Mars in Sagittarius. So I'm really glad that that has dissipated, because that is highly unpredictable, sort of fighting words, World War III type of allegations under that. So moving forward, let's get into it, because Mercury is about to station retrograde on the 9th. So we're going to let the S reflect that here on the 10th. But Mercury is going to station retrograde at 6 degrees Sagittarius and 51 minutes, and it is still holding that conjunction with Mars. So it is sort of grinding in on this discomfort of Mercury-Mars. Now, this could be really awesome if you're someone who normally censors yourself to a fault, or if you're too shy to a fault, or if you tend to have trouble speaking your truth or getting a word in edgewise. This aspect can be really favorable for you. It can help amplify your voice. But for many of us, this is going to be the tendency to kind of catch yourself and say, oh my God, did that come out wrong? Did I offend someone with that? So this is one where it's a little bit of a truth serum. The truth is coming out. We're speaking our minds. We're feeling more emboldened and opinionated to say it. And this is going to definitely inflame gossip. This is definitely going to be inflammatory sort of dialogue or press. This is going to be accusations. This is going to be pointing fingers, calling people out. And with Mercury going retrograde, we may be revisiting a previous dispute, a past hurt. We may be airing out our dirty laundry. We may be revisiting the past in a way that it's like, whoa, I thought we were done with that. But here it is, it's coming back. So we have a chance to revisit something that was discomforting, or revisit something where we didn't get to speak up when we wanted to, or we didn't get to respond how we wanted to. We're going to have a chance to address that discomfort again. So thinking about that. But if you're feeling irritable, if you're feeling restless, this could be why. So some of us are going to be feeling this juicy Venus action, Venus Pluto, Venus Jupiter. Some people are going to be feeling heated with this aspect. Now, this is interesting because Mercury is going to be holding this aspect with Mars, and we're going to be seeing the second exact alignment of them. We saw the first one back in Scorpio. This is going to be on November 12th and 13th. We're going to see them sort of switch places in the sky, but they're going to be holding that conjunction until Mercury retrogrades back into Scorpio. So we're going to be working with that until November 19th when Mercury goes back into Scorpio. Another thing that's interesting that happens here is that on the 13th of November, and this is going to vary slightly depending on where you live and the latitude of where you live, but Mars is going to be going into its place of invisibility. So here I have Mars is going to have its last evening visibility on the 13th. So it's going to start going under the beams of the sun, making it more difficult to see. And it's interesting because Mars typically moves half the speed as the sun, but when they're closer together, they sort of sync up and start moving a lot closer to the same speed. So what we're going to see is Mars and the sun. Mars is at this phase of the cycle where it is at the end of its cycle. It's like the balsamic moon. It's like the waning crescent phase where Mars is spent. Mars is done. Mars doesn't want to fight anymore. So it's Mars and Sagittarius is kind of like the person on the couch saying antagonistic things to get other people to fight, or to get other people to do it for them. So Mars in Sagittarius is still sort of craving that energy, but it doesn't want to get up and do it itself. So Mars is at the end of its cycle. It's spent, it's tired. And so we may be feeling that a little bit too as we head into this period. And moving forward, I just want to show you, because this is just something cool that we have to look forward to. But Mars is going to align with the heart of the sun in early Capricorn. So I'm giving you a nice little preview into January. We're going to see a Venus cazimi. Venus goes into the heart of the sun. That's going to be right around January 6th and 7th. And then it's going to, and Mars is there too. Look at that. We have like a double cazimi action here. So that's the point of rebirth for Mars. And we're not going to see Mars in the sky. Mars will be reborn as a morning star. We'll see Mars in early March. So this is the last time, going back to November 13th, where we are. So this is the point where Mars is tired, and we're in this place of like, how can I make things easier? How can I make things easier? How can I simplify and focus, my desires, my actions? So we may be sort of collecting our energy some. Another thing that's going on here, let's skip forward to the 17th. This is when it starts to get more exact. But what we're going to see now is a grand water trine. So we saw one last month with Mercury and Mars in the mix, but now we have the sun at 25 degrees Scorpio forming a grand trine with Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer. And I've been referring to this grand trine as a getting unstuck trine. So a lot of what I've been seeing with my clients for the last several months is this sense of feeling stuck. Now, what people are really feeling into is this Saturn-Neptune conjunction of feeling low energy. What am I striving for? Feeling a sense of defeat or pessimism about the future. People are experiencing hopelessness, and sometimes people are transmuting that hopelessness into a divine surrender. And that's why we're seeing religion have a resurgence at this time, is because when we can't trust the material to come through for us, we then set our emphasis on the spiritual. And that's why you'll see a lot of renunciate faiths, a lot of asceticism, like people giving up those material attachments so that they can have a stronger relationship with the divine. There is a reason for that. And so right now we're seeing sort of a lack of faith in our systems, and people are feeling tired from that. Yet, coming back to Taurus full moon energy, where are our feet? Where are our hands? What is right in front of us? Thinking about our neighborhoods, our communities, our families, our extended families and friends. What can we do? And so I'm coming back to this grand trine in water. Water, again, it's intuitive, it's creative, it's psychic, it's emotional. And we don't typically think of water as very proactive, but it is inspirational. It gives us a feeling. It gives us a sense of interconnectedness. And why it's helping us to get unstuck is Jupiter and Saturn. Saturn here in Pisces has had a lot to process, a lot of big things to mourn, a lot of grief, but it is supported by Jupiter. Jupiter in resourced, community-oriented, nourishing Cancer. And Jupiter saying, I got your back. I got your back. There is a way out of this. There is a way through this. And Jupiter is also optimism, helping to sort of pull Saturn out of that hole to say, yeah, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Look at it. It's right there. Look at the stars poking through the dark night of the sky, illuminating the darkest time of the night, the cycle. Everything is a cycle. And so we're definitely in a period of darkness collectively. Maybe you're not feeling it, and I'm very happy for you. But collectively, I think we can all agree that there's a lot of heaviness. And so Jupiter there is like the heavens of the stars reaching down and saying, yeah, there is a way through this. There is something to believe in and strive for. And last month we had Mars in the action. Mars and Saturn were saying, let's get to work. Let's do something. Let's show up. Let's get moving. Here we have the sun. The sun is confidence, radiance, our identity, who we are. And I think this is a big boost of confidence in our skill set, in our capabilities, in our responsibilities, where people are counting on us, and hopefully feeling a part of something bigger than you. So I want this aspect to continue to inspire you and, feel it all. That's what we do with a grand trine in water. And let that feeling stir something in you. Let that feeling stir something to life in you, and just be your most authentic self. So that's something that's going on for us. And then the last thing that's happening here is that on the 17th, or actually on the 19th, Mercury does go back into Scorpio. So Mercury is still retrograde. Yeah, and Mercury is retrograde. So just get ready for stuff to not come out right. Mercury is retrograde. Get ready to give yourself some extra time to do things. I guess I didn't explicitly expound on Mercury being retrograde other than it's a chance to revisit and redo things. But the typical Mercury retrograde things that allow us to look for the symbols, look for the symbolism. If you're running late, is there a reason for that? Is there like a deeper message there for you? Like, instead of just blaming Mercury, is there something else that you need to see? Because I believe that we live in an alive universe, and I believe that the universe is intelligent, and I believe that we're all connected, and I believe that there is meaning. And I believe that if you're looking for guidance, that it's there. And if you're looking for signs and that you're on the right track or that you need to pivot, they are there. But it's not going to be explicit. It's going to be subjective. So don't be afraid to lean into that. Don't be afraid to have that sort of creative vulnerability of looking for that connection with the aliveness of nature and the universe around you. What is the sign? What is the message? And don't be freaked out. Like, read between the lines, and that message is for you. That message is for you. So Mercury's moving back into psychic and perceptive Scorpio. This is where we get that separation from Mars, and we're going to start to see things sort of cool down, and those tensions are going to start to sort of simmer a little bit. Mercury is still in this opposition with Uranus. So this is a little bit more of a grounded breakthrough. Sometimes Mercury, Uranus can be a big revelation, a realization, just seeing things in a striking way that you weren't expecting to, getting a bit of information that is a little jarring or inspirational, but it is in a fixed sign now. So it should be a little bit more tame and something that we can really sit with, ideally. So pay attention to what you are learning. What are you realizing at this time around November 19th? And then lastly, on the 19th, we're going to see the lunar nodes reach the degrees of 15 degrees Virgo and Pisces in 23 minutes. This is a throwback to the eclipse on September 7th at 15 degrees and 23 minutes. And so this is going to be a dramatic re-energizing of that eclipse story. So if you're paying attention to your eclipses, this is a moment where that story is going to progress and develop a little bit more. And there may be some important events that kind of connect back to this that on the world stage too. So we think back to September, what was going on. I know it was right around that time that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And as I'm recording this, people are analyzing the embrace between Erica Kirk and JD Vance. And they're saying that, yeah, that looks a little bit more than friendly. So maybe we'll learn something from that eclipse about, what's going on there. But think about in your personal lives. I know a lot of big stuff has been happening for my clients. And so if that's you, pay attention what was going on for you in early September, really the whole month of September, because it's all connected. And we're going to see an important development related to that around this time. So that's what I have for you this lunation with the full moon in Taurus. I hope it's ultimately grounding. I hope it's ultimately luxurious and revitalizing and delicious for you in some way. And I look forward to connecting with you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on all platforms at Astro Catherine. You can also find me at catherineurban.com, where you can book your next solar return or year ahead forecast. I'm also available for horary inquiries, electional forecasts, and chart rectification. And if you like what you see here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time, bye.